Well, I have to tell you, my stepson is obsessed. We have a floor director, Fernando.
Yes.
This is crossing generations. People are loving this. The music, the catchy, dance moves, the color, all of it. What makes it so addictive in your mind?
Well, there's lots of hot Korean guys, so that helps.
How did you get so into Korean culture?
What is their significance? Tell us more.
So Derpy and Sussy, they're kind of inspired by actual Korean folk art. Back in the day, Korean folk artists.
안녕하세요, 원다입니다. 더 상승할 곳이 없는 기록의 고공행진을 지속하고 있는 케이팝데몬헌터스가 그동안의 한류 현상에 새로운 차원을 더해주며 한국 문화에 대한 세계인들의 관심을 한층 더 끌어올리고 있어 시선을 집중시키고 있습니다. 지난 23일 미국의 CBS 뉴스는 왜 캐대언이 이토록 중독적인지, 속편은 어떻게 진행되고 있는지 등 캐대언에 대한 다양한 궁금증을 쏟아냈는데요. 한국 문화와 한국 아티스트들에게 영향을 받았다는 크리스 감독의 명쾌한 대답은 캐대언의 인기가 온전히 한국적인 것으로부터 나왔음을 시사했죠.
Well, I have to tell you, my stepson is obsessed. He is playing the music all the time. He's 11. We have a floor director, Fernando, who I'm not going to say his age,
two daughters,
but much older than my stepson. This is crossing generations. People are loving this. The music, the catchy, dance moves, the color, all of it.
It's time for a new strategy.
This is so cute. It's not just another K-pop craze. It's a full-blown phenomenon. K-pop Demon Hunters has captured the attention of fans worldwide. The movie has been streaming on Netflix at #1 since June, and the songs from the soundtrack have been breaking records at an astonishing rate. Due to its popularity, Netflix has decided to release a sing-along version in theaters just for one weekend.
And some of our coworkers are going, they're so excited for this, and that we're speaking with the director of K-pop Demon Hunters, Chris Appelhans. Chris, thank you so much for coming to the show, and congratulations on all of your success. This must be so overwhelming to have someone love your work this much.
Yes, it's a lot. It's amazing. We're like kind of dreams come true.
What makes it so addictive in your mind?
Well, there's lots of hot Korean guys, so that helps. But I think on a deeper level, obviously, we really wanted to try to make it something different. And so Maggie Kang, my co-director, and I really leaned into stuff that we wanted to see in animation that we'd never seen. These female characters that are like, they are super awesome, but they're also like really silly and goofy and like run around in their pajama pants. And we really wanted to make a musical that was not a typical musical, that like used the true form of pop music as a device for telling stories and like structuring a movie around. And we wanted to talk about like some heavy stuff too, like the movie touches on shame and inner demons and all the ways we kind of can tear ourselves down or help each other get through life.
Oh, wow.
So it was really a movie made out of all these personal things that we love that we tried to mash together. And I think all those layers make it really nice for like watching more than once. And
Yes.
Because then you get a little bit of everything in there. Okay, so we have to ask questions. There's diehard fans, as we told you in the studio. They're telling us that there's rumors that 9 songs were cut from the movie. We want to know if that's true and if it will have anything to do with a sequel. Is that why that content was cut, to be used for later? What can you tell us?
We didn't cut 9 songs, but we made so many demos in the process of landing on the songs that are in the movie. So like a song like Golden, we probably wrote 4 songs in trying to find that song before we landed on it.
Okay.
And then we did there are maybe 2 or 3 songs that we wrote for story points that didn't end up in the movie. And those may have a life somewhere in the future. We end up exploring that material. So, yeah.
It may have, but you put that out there, so of course the speculation about a sequel is only going to get ramped up a little bit more. Is that being considered?
Yeah, for sure. We're definitely talking to Netflix, and they're excited, and we're excited about it, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to ask a question on behalf of 6-year-old Ellie, our Mark Lou's daughter. The blue cat and the bird with the 3 eyes and a little hat. Ellie wants to know, what's the deal with them? What is their significance? Tell us more.
So we have our nickname for the cat is Derpy Tiger because he's so derpy, and for the little bird we call him Sussy because he's always kind of like grumpy and suspicious of everything. So Derpy and Sussy, they're kind of inspired by actual Korean folk art. Back in the day, Korean folk artists used to portray, they had kind of this caricature they would do where the derpy tiger represented like the upper class, which is like a little bit goofy and kind of like not as smart as they thought they were. And magpie represented like the commoner who's kind of always pecking at them and prodding at them. So there's this really fun folklore, and the art was beautiful. And we're like, we need to bring this forward into our fantasy world.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yes, it is.
캐대언에 대한 인기가 점점 더 뜨거워짐에 따라 작품 속 한국의 문화적 요소에 대해 궁금증을 느끼는 팬들 역시 더욱더 많아지고 있는데요. 감독이나 작품 관계자들에게 묻기도 하지만 직접 열정적으로 연구하는 이들도 있어 감탄을 자아내고 있습니다. 특히 예술가이자 유튜버이기도 한 백하아딩은 작품 속 다양한 한국 전통 미술 요소들을 분석해 눈길을 끌었는데요. 더피와 서씨에 대해서는 다음과 같이 분석했죠.
Let's talk about these guys. These guys are actually a reference to a famous Korean genre of minhwa, or genre paintings, called hojakdo, which is a word that literally translates to tiger-magpie paintings. Oftentimes, the magpie in these paintings is thought of as a messenger and a bringer of good fortune. And the tiger was often thought to ward off evil spirits, acting as a sort of protector. It's also really interesting to me that these guys tend to follow around Jinwoo specifically, because hojakdo paintings were often a critique of the social hierarchy between the rich and the poor, especially during the Joseon dynasty when they were most popular. In these paintings, the tigers often are meant to represent the upper class, and so they're often painted as foolish and silly. And magpies represented the common people, and were painted as clever and cunning. In that way, it definitely feels like there's something interesting going on here, because Jinwoo was extremely poor and then abandoned his family to escape that poverty and live in the palace as a court musician. He's poor, she's royalty. It's interesting.
거기다 작품 속 1월 오봉도에 대한 깊이 있는 분석은 놀라움을 자아낼 정도였죠.
It's a great film, it has gorgeous design choices, it's just masterfully done. But more importantly, I think it's that this movie beautifully illustrates something that we should all try and remember. Art, media, communication in general, it's all a dialogue between the past and the present. That's one of the things that makes this movie so fantastic, is that it very intentionally and masterfully draws on that. I freaking loved this movie, and I am almost concerningly obsessed with this movie. There is an insane amount of references to Korean art history hidden literally everywhere throughout this movie. See that painting in the back there? It's actually an extremely famous design called 일어나고, or painting of the sun, moon, and the 5 peaks. We start out seeing it behind Rumi alone, and then we see it as the backdrop for the entire group, and then as the main promotional material for the single. That's interesting for a couple of reasons, but perhaps the most interesting is that historically, artwork with this composition, the sun, moon, and the mountains with the river, was used exclusively behind the throne of kings in the Joseon dynasty. So naturally, it's really interesting and cool to see how often Rumi is depicted completely alone against this backdrop. After all, as it states in the movie,
she's pop star royalty.
In this way, and because we see mostly just her with this background, this painting is trying to tell us something about Rumi specifically. Throughout the movie, we see Rumi struggle with her identity and her self-perception. By having 일어나고 feature so heavily in the background of Golden, it really feels like Rumi is telling the viewers that this is the strongest, best version of herself. The version of herself she wants other people to see and admire. In this way, the painting seems to represent Rumi's self-made persona, one that's put together, regal, powerful. But here's the thing about the sun, moon, and the 5 peaks. Not only is it a beautiful painting, it also served an important practical role. During the Joseon dynasty, you weren't allowed to gaze directly at the king. So this huge, beautiful painting was put up in the background in the king's throne room to give visitors something to look at, since they couldn't look directly at the king. This is Rumi at her most unbreakable, but also at her most untouchable. She's majestic, but she's also completely alone. It's in the background, not just while she's performing Golden, but also when she runs away because she can't perform it. And later in the movie, when we see her demon markings publicly revealed during the performance of Takedown, we see that same painting, but this time it's glitched and distorted, showing the takedown of her own self-made image and her own persona that she's crafted for herself. Throughout the sequence, the background gets more and more distorted, adds to the lore and the symbolism of everything that goes on in it.
20년간 한국 드라마와 한국 영화를 보면서 자랐다는 크리스 감독은 한국 작품 특유의 톤이 그의 영화적 목소리와 관점 변화에 큰 영향을 끼쳤다며 그것이 오늘의 캐리언을 잇게 했다고 말합니다.
How did you get so into Korean culture?
You know, it's funny. I was talking to some Korean news outlets about this, and I'm of the generation, and I think there's actually many of us now who grew up on Korean dramas, Korean films. I saw Bong Joon-ho's film The Host when I was probably in my late 20s, and it really changed the way I thought about filmmaking. I've been watching Korean dramas for 20 years now because I think they're so good at sort of tone and being funny, but also really emotional. So I was sort of inadvertently, as a filmmaker, being shaped by Korean artists. And so when Maggie and I met up to talk about it, it was like, we had all the same references, we had all the same inspirations.
Wow.
And I think it's something that is really neat about the way I think Hollywood is changing now is you have filmmakers like me, just a white guy from America who has ingested all of these other filmmaking voices in my youth. And so I show up and they're just a part of like how I want to tell stories.
I love
That's
it.
really cool. And you can see your appreciation for the culture. Well,